Welcome back to the Social Media Blitz. We are super excited to meet Cooney, the owner of Chatty Wren Roastery here in Cobleskill, New York. We're really excited just to hear the highlights of your last year, kind of the origin story of why you decided to start the roastery, and what your experience has been like building your own roots here in the community.
We'd taken a trip to Costa Rica, and we were exploring all over, and we decided to stop at a coffee farm. And while we were there, we got to see everything from start to finish, how it was grown, processed, the difference between washed versus natural, and so on. And we packed our backpacks full of coffee and came home, and that was right at the start of COVID. Everything shut down. We ran out of said coffee that we brought back, and my wife got me actually this little thing here. It's a little coffee roaster.
That's so cool.
2 pounds of green coffee and a coffee shrub, and was like Happy Father's Day. So, you know, I basically watched a lot of YouTube and learned how to roast coffee on this thing, which is fantastic because you really need all of your senses: sight, sound, smell. You really understand what the coffee is doing. From there, we upgraded to a 1 kilogram home roaster, and that's where everything started to take off. I brought some into work, and it was a big hit, so we decided to see where it would go. Got certified by Ag and Market and started an LLC and converted this space into our roastery.
Can you share a little bit about how you found your home?
Sure. So when we moved out here, we moved to New York in 2004. We were staying up in Saratoga at the time, and my wife wanted to finish her degree in Cobleskill here. So we were checking out the area, passed this home. I just pointed to it and I said, well, if we ever lived here, I'd like that house.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
It wasn't for sale at the time.
And
then, I don't know, 6 months later, we got a call from a realtor that wanted us to come check out a house. And it turns out that it was this one. It's pretty fantastic. It's steep in history. Our home was actually featured in the 1934 World Fair in New York City.
That's huge.
This space in the home that was featured was actually a music studio. When we started the company, we didn't know what we wanted to call it. I always thought it'd be something that would be fun to have, like a gorilla or a monkey or whatever. Because, you know, we like that kind of thing. And a lot of other things were taken with my wife being a wildlife biologist. She thought of something with birds. And it just so happened that we had a family of house wrens build a nest right outside of our kitchen window. And then on the front of our house, in one of my planters, we had a family of Carolina wrens. And all summer long, they don't get along, so they were bickering back and forth. So she's like, oh, Chatty Wren. Made no sense to me. And then she's like, no, it's, you know, she explained it to me. And then, you know, even subliminally, like the C and the W, Cooney Walters. I'm like, oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So community response has been fantastic. I can't say enough about the folks that we work with. Hard Scrabble.
If you haven't heard of Hard Scrabble Coffee, they're located in Middleburg, but it's a car, like a trailer that she pulls around, and it's really neat because she does so many awesome events. I feel that your excitement, your enthusiasm for the love of what you do is shared and multiplied when working with Emily as well, because she loves that coffee. She wants to not only provide a good product, but really have a product that brings community together.
As we've developed and we've got into the wholesale market, it's been fantastic. You know, every store that we work with give us very positive reviews on our product in their store, and you know, and I can see by their orders that it's obviously moving quickly. So yeah, it's great. We have an online site which is doing very well. We're in the Cooperstown Farmers Market. We have a nice presence in Otsego County as well. One of the greatest things about our customers is we all have something in common, right? We like coffee. So they share their experiences, their travels. You know, that's been one of the most fantastic things is we find that we've traveled to a lot of the same places, and even places that we've not been. You know, they've piqued our interest with stories that they tell. I don't only work with Royal New York Coffee. I have a few other importers that we use as well, but it's a fantastic relationship. You deal with the same broker, you know, pretty much for everything. You're assigned somebody, and they work well with you. They understand what your needs are. It doesn't matter that I'm a very small roaster. So if, you know, something that is small family-owned farm comes up and it's a high quality product, they'll reach out to me. I don't have to constantly scour, you know, their website, seeing what's huge. So it's a very good relationship. As far as how it translates to our customers, again, not being a businessman or really knowing anything about coffee when we first started, what intrigued us and excited us about coffee was being able to try so many different varieties. And the reason that we chose to stay with single origin versus doing a lot of blends, each origin is unique in its own right, and each origin offers such a vast different flavor profile than the other.
Yeah.
So it's just really kind of fun, and that even varies from crop to crop. Like I can give you a Guatemala today, and then next year's crop, same farm, same bean, same plant, could be completely different.
So you're always adapting, always trying something new. Has there been one certain origin coffee that seems to be a bestseller?
Our dark roast Honduras is the one bean that we've had consistently for the last 4 years, and as long as they keep growing it, I'm going to keep keep roasting it, because it's absolutely one of our best sellers. It's rich, it's smooth, it's got a really nice chocolatey note. It's hands down everything we've thrown at it, from drip, French press, espresso. It makes the best cold brew I've ever had. Like, it's just everything you throw at it is a rock
cold
star.
brew is like the way lately.
So that's our staple. Everything else changes. That one's gonna stay.
Indonesian coffees tend to be more on the spectrum of earthy. So, and when I say that, all I mean is not sweet.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Whereas like the Central Americas tend to have like a sweeter note, like on their own. In particular, our Raw Reserva, which is the same exact bean as our Honduras Dark. It's just that one's been fermented. That will just be a little bit sweeter on its own. You might get like a strawberry jam note on it, but the same co-op, same bean, different process.
The first phase is going to be the drying phase. So you'll see the beans go from green to almost like a yellowish tan color, or not tan, but kind of a yellowing, right?
Yep.
That's the drying phase. It usually hits at about 300 degrees when it's complete.
Okay.
So from there, you work your way up to what they call first crack. The drying phase to first crack is called the Maillard reaction. So it's basically almost like if you were searing a piece of steak, that caramelization.
Yeah.
Beans are doing the same thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So first crack sounds like a bunch of popcorn inside the drum, and what that is there's so much energy being put in that the moisture is just expressing out. So your chaff comes off. From that point is your development phase, right? So that's when you can either shorten it, lengthen it, depending on if there's some sugars in your coffee or whatever that you're trying to pull out to maybe sweeten your cup a little bit. Or if you have a really fruit forward cup, like my Ethiopia's, they're very delicate bean, they're fantastic, but you don't want to let them go too long. Yeah, so I have a laptop, it's hooked up to a computer, so you can watch your rate of rise, and see, in addition to, you watching what the beans are doing, it actually gives you a computer graph on what your temperature, your airflow, and everything is doing. So yeah, and once you determine, at what point you want to drop the beans, you raise this up, this thing spins, and there's a real heavy duty fan underneath it, and it basically sucks cold air down, and it'll cool your beans in about a minute.
Wow.
So, and that's critical quick too, because if they don't cool quickly, they can continue to cook, essentially, and you can get almost like a baked flavor, or, if you're trying to preserve a unique fruitiness, it'll be muted. Now that this is my full-time job, I have much more availability to dedicate to the company, and really understand the metrics of it, both as far as like the marketing as well as production, and I don't want to expand to something that's not manageable,
right?
But I have room to grow. I have room to grow the business. I have room to find a few more outlets, maybe for some wholesale accounts. I'm just excited to see where the road takes us.
Yeah, the horizon can kind of keep going.
Right.
The sky's the limit, knowing that there's really not a limit. And if you were to find a point where you're at capacity, you're excited to learn, what next and how we can still provide. So, man, I really, really appreciate you taking the time today. I appreciate y'all sharing your experience. Love how you have fully supported your husband throughout all these years, but these new ventures, and that you guys really dug in together to provide something that's just so awesome for the community, not just the product, but for the community to come around together, to be able to sit, to have a chat, and really build it in an organic way. It's really inspiring, and just thanks for establishing your roots here, so we have great coffee to drink. It's really neat.
Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.